I'll turn it off right after the program's over.
Program? You know, I can remember when kids used to like to have stories read to them. They'd actually beg their parents, like their fathers, to read these stories.
Oh, Dad, you always start talking about that when I want to watch
It was a very big deal, too. The fathers would read these exciting stories and sometimes adventure stories to them.
This is my favorite program, Dad.
And the kids would brag to their friends about how their fathers would read these great...
All the other guys get to watch their programs.
Kids used to like their parents, used to like them to read these marvelous...
Dad.
Now, let's see. Now, here's a story. This is a story...
There be monsters?
This is a story a man could actually read to his...
Yeah, okay, Dad.
Monsters? Yeah, sure, monsters. Listen. Once upon a time, a long way from here, and a long way from now, there was a tiny village where everything, the houses and the carts, the bridges and the barns, everything, all had points on them. In fact, it was so full of points that even the people had points. Yes, the people. Right there on the tops of their heads. And it didn't seem strange at all, because that's the way life was in that village. That's the way it always had been, and for all anybody knew, that's the way it always would be. As you might have already guessed, the main activity of the village was making points. And needless to say, business was brisk, and the competition was, well, competitive. But he didn't. No, as things turned out, Oblio didn't grow any point at all. But it really wasn't so very noticeable. As a matter of fact, in time, he took to wearing a cap, a pointed cap his mother made. It kept his head warm, and it did make him look a lot more like all the other ordinary kids in the village. Just about the same time Oblio got his new cap, he also got...
Hero! Hero!
Straighter than arrow.
Greatest hound on earth. Suddenly, Oblio and Arrow were all alone in the pointless forest. At first, everything seemed quite peaceful. Oblio thought about the pointed man and wondered what his friends in the village would have said if only they knew that he had seen and talked to such a rare person. Then Oblio noticed how quiet it was. Arrow noticed too. It was very quiet. Then little by little, Oblio began to feel lonely. The end. Now that's a story, eh, son? I mean, is that a story or...
Yeah, Dad. It was a good story, really.
Good, good. It was great. Great story.
Sure, Dad, it was.
I mean, that had everything right there. Adventure, a little comedy, funny scene or two. And it was a lesson. You caught the lesson, didn't you?
Right, Dad, I caught it.
Well, what do you think it was?
Well, just because somebody doesn't have what other people have doesn't mean that, you know, they have to be turned out of the kingdom or something.
Yeah.
Dad?
Oh, what is it, son?
Thanks for reading me the story.
You're welcome, son.
Excuse me, is this cockroach cross-dresses in crisis?
I want to talk to the Colonel.
Albatross! Suck up an albatross! Yeah!
This is totally unnatural.
Excuse me, but I simply must fly.
You're not eating.
Oh, I was.
No, you weren't.
Well, I'm just watching, sir.
Well, that's not very grateful of you. After I've taken you under my wing.
Well, I'm grateful, really. I am.
You miss something, don't you?
No, I don't.
There's nothing up there, Oscuro. Nothing at all.
Oh, no, I know that. Absolutely. Nothing. Nothing at all.
He's a tough one.
We meet at last, Major Andre.
Major General Arnold.
I trust your journey was without peril? She's right, gentlemen. I may be a general, but I never, ever argue with my wife. Thank you, Samantha. Ah, it's a message from Talmadge.
Oh, and Samantha, please prepare some more food. General Washington and a guest will be arriving shortly. Benedict, what is it?
Something's come up, dear. We must talk upstairs. Gentlemen, if you'll excuse us for a moment. Quick, close the door.
Benedict, what is...
I must leave immediately. My life depends on it.
Leave? Benedict, you're scaring me.
I don't have time to explain. I gave the plans of West Point to Major Andre.
What for? John's involved with you in something?
Yes, he's been caught. It won't be long before Washington learns I've betrayed America to the British and they come to arrest me.
This is terrible. What should I do?
So you know nothing of any of this.
Benedict?
I love you, but I must go. Now. I'll be in contact.